I've never done whole parts.
Oh, they take little tiny pieces. There won't even be a scar.
I think I found the problem.
Oh, come on, you're the doctor.
Everyone, lights out and quiet.
Welcome back to the Media Morgue, everyone, where movies come to be examined. I'm Justin Winley, joined by my fellow surgeons of the cinema.
Karsten Runquist.
Zach Paloma? Question mark?
Cole Young.
Yeah, and every episode on the Media Morgue, we review two movies, one that's popular and one that is a little bit foreign, faded, forgotten, or any permutation of those three. And sometimes we try to find a connecting thread so that you feel braver about broadening your cinematic horizons. Today's popular pick is the 2021 Mortal Kombat reboot, directed by Simon McQuoid and released on HBO Max.
Ooh.
Then Wes will take over in the latter half with Kinji Fukasaku's Battle Royale from 2000. But before the reviews, we have the news. So what's cracking over in pop culture media news? Dan, we'll go to you first.
Dude, there's so much Marvel shit. It's like so much just fucking Marvel. Like, it's
And no X-Men.
Just
no X-Men in the Marvels.
Well, not a whiff of
X-Men.
X-Men.
Like a Fantastic Four logo, like a title card and no year attached.
Yeah.
So we can only assume it's 2024 or 5. I was fucking dumbfounded by the fact that Guardians 3 is still like 2 years away. More than 2 years away.
That movie has been 2 years away for 5 years.
Yeah. He's making his ex-girlfriend wait. Like he's like, you guys are gonna wait.
This is my.
That's what it is. Yeah, no.
And then I can.
He's collecting both those checks.
He is.
He's saying that he's saying, you know, one day I'm gonna marry you. One day, but this is my time. This is my time to be free.
He's doing he's having a hot girl summer right now.
Right.
So it is. What it is.
Well, actually, Danny, 2024 would be a smart year to release Fantastic Four. I mean, just because of the numeric marketing that you can do with that. Yeah.
Do you guys still think it's going to be Krasinski, or is that always like a fan cast?
I think they're going to give us a left turn that we're not expecting.
Yeah.
I don't see Marvel rarely goes with the person that everybody's like, that person should be it.
They're probably going to do old Timmy C, Mr. Chalamet.
Yeah, that sounds great.
No, don't say that again. Don't say that.
He'll be how old by 2024? Like
I don't
27?
care. I don't.
How old is he?
About it.
He's well, that's a good question, but I think if you want
Marvel hasn't scooped him up yet, and it's like, okay, well, he's the hot new guy. They're gonna wait until
he's gonna be
an X-Men or
he's gonna be X-Men.
Part.
He's gonna be X-Men. They're gonna be like X-Men about minorities. Here's Timothy Chalamet.
They're doing like a baby Fantastic Four. Like
he's more of an X-Men guy though. He looks like a mutant, which is not.
He's gonna be Angel or something.
What really
Nightcrawler?
X-Men guy.
Young and hot is X-Men.
He's probably going to be Reed Richards, guys. Or
I really don't think so.
I'll bet against it.
I'm gunning for the fan cast, which is the entire cast of The Good Place. Is as the Fantastic. Just taking that cast and just dropping it into.
I like
the
to see the Always Sunny crew.
Wait, I heard a rumor? I don't know if it's true that Jennifer Lawrence was cast.
I heard that too. A Sue Storm. That sounds terrible.
Right? I hate it. I don't want it. I don't want it.
Well, I guess I'm anti-young F4. I think it's better if they're like around Tony Stark.
I think what you got to do with Fantastic.
Well, don't manifest Timmy Chalamet then.
I keep hearing the rumor that they're going young for it because they want F4 to go for like another 10, 15 years.
Yeah.
My thing is like the Fantastic Four is always the older team. Like you can make the X-Men come in there in their early 20s. Like that's fine. I feel like you got to go marriage age, at least with Reed and Sue. Like go in and make Reed and Sue in their late 30s, early 40s, and then have their kids eventually. Like you know what I mean? Like there's so many options if they're a little bit older.
Right. Well, and they have to be like these like crazy scientists, don't they? They have to be like genius, renowned scientists that are up there for a reason.
I think they're afraid. I think the reason they're going young is because they're afraid of the explanation of where they've been the whole time, which I don't think is a big deal. Like I think you can say they were in a time warp, they were in space, they were in the negatives. You know what I mean? Like there's a couple options.
That was the explanation for Marvel. She was too busy in
space.
She
was one phone call away.
Exactly.
Before we wrap up this Marvel stuff, can we talk about the Black Panther 2 in the title that is both amazing and terrible. Like
yes,
what an easy title. What just some intern no one came up with anything. Hey, Panther 2, Wakanda Forever. All right, we're rolling with it.
They said Brandon. Let's go with that. I'm No, go ahead, Justin.
I was just talking about this this slate and stuff on because I recorded HVO today as well, and so I was just saying thank you. What Ahmad said, which I think is pretty apt, is like if they released the Lion King sequel and called it Kumbaya or something like that, or if you called it like the Circle of Life, like if you just take like a phrase from the movie
most famous
and then
phrase.
make it the sequel subtitle, it's like. So yeah, it's a little cheesy
to do that. I'm trying to think.
I'm sure there's other ones.
I'm kind of drawing a blank, but I feel like that's a standard sequel thing.
Bad Boys for Life is one. They say Bad Boys for Life.
Jaws. We're gonna need a bigger boat or something like that.
Aliens 3. There's no one can hear you scream.
Nice, good one. No, keep going.
I'm gone. I'm gone.
I think if Chadwick hadn't unfortunately passed away, we might have gotten like Atlantis Strikes or something like, you know what I mean? But I think
Tale of Two Kings.
You know what I mean?
Tale of Two Kings would have been great.
But
it's just going to be so heavy because the entire movie is going to feel like a Chadwick eulogy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Especially
with this title.
It's so hard to dance around that when you talk about the movie, when you review it. It's like it's going to be the first thing you have to get out of the way. Unfortunately, Chadwick Boseman has passed, and this movie needs to kind of work around.
Which is why I almost feel like they should just not do it. Look, I love Black Panther. Like Black Panther is one of my favorite MCU movies, but I think I would be okay with them not making a second one and just doing a Wakanda show where they do with the Dora Milaje, or they do Shuri. You know what I mean? A Shuri show. Like Letitia Wright's great.
And show us more of Wakanda. I mean, in that movie, they're just showing us fields and like the palace and stuff.
And the palace.
Their banks look like, their hotels. Do stuff like that. Like, what do the restaurants look like? What do their corner stores look like? And you could really explore that in the show. I mean, I think they're going to recast, and that's just going to be distracting.
I don't know if they're going to recast. I think
that's what I heard.
I think what they might do is I think they're going to go either Shuri becomes Queen. Like Justin, you had this idea. Shuri becomes Queen, but not Black Panther. Or Shuri becomes Black Panther. Or the third option is we bring in a comics character who was formerly a Black Panther in the comics, and you phase that person in. So the truly cursed rumor, which I truly hope is just a rumor,
is the Michael B. Jordan one.
No, well there's the Michael B. The Michael B. Jordan one is that he gets resurrected and he has a redemption.
Oh, and he has a change of heart.
But there's another one where there's a character in the comics in the Christopher Priest run who is essentially biracial Black Panther. That's like T'Challa's cousin, and there's a rumor that they've screen tested the Bridgerton guy for that role.
That's typical, isn't it?
That sounds truly horrendous.
Well, it's going to be a recast, or because we know Disney can be very lazy, they'll pull a Palpatine thing and be like, somehow
T'Challa passed away.
Yeah, busted right back after Endgame.
Yeah, they probably will do something like that. It'll open with
death.
They'll do the
his death, but not how.
It'll open with a funeral.
Okay, let's do a tally here.
Exactly.
Would we rather they just say T'Challa died, or would we rather they recast?
Just say he died.
I don't know.
I don't
know what I prefer.
I don't. I feel like that's like Christopher Reeves. Like I think it needs a generation to pass. Like I think you need,
especially given the. I know what you're saying, Wes. Especially given the disability angle too. Although Christopher Reeve became disabled long after he played Superman, but like, it's tough. I would like to see the character continue, but I think they're just going to, they're going to open with a funeral in that second movie.
God,
can they really even? They could have just called the movie Wakanda Forever, and it would have done well. But they kept Black Panther.
That's such a good idea. Why didn't you just call it Wakanda Forever? No Black Panther.
Which means Black Panther is in the movie.
Which means there will
one way or another.
Well, there was. We're spending a lot of time theorizing, but another
right.
So much Marvel shit.
Another
we were gonna anyways.
Another rumor that I heard, and this is probably like a spit and glue, not really true rumor, is that the VFX team was trying out having two Black Panthers, was having a man and a woman Black Panther, which seems weird because it's an ancestral title,
and there's only supposed to be one.
But Who
And
knows?
didn't Killmonger have all the heart shaped?
Yeah, where are those?
So there's only
Just order more. You just can order more on Amazon.
Amazon.
I mean, if they have it be that like Shuri eats one of those heart-shaped herbs, that kind of undoes like a lot of the impact from the first movie. Because the first movie was like he's the only one that can be Black Panther anymore. There's no more of those herbs.
Right. Also also the thing about the first movie is that the first movie is kind of it's kind of two movies sandwiched together. Like Claw could have been the villain in the first one, and then you could have had Killmonger.
Have a lot of subplots, guys. It doesn't make them 5 movies. It makes them one.
No, but like for example, right? Like you have, because my news is also Marvel related. But I was gonna say like it's fine that they combined villains, but I think they could have also easily like, for example, there's a couple things that happen multiple times that feel like they could have been in another movie, like when T'Challa fight, he has the duel, right? He has the duel with M'Baku and then the duel again with Killmonger. Like, now, granted, it means something different when he's fighting Killmonger and they set it up with M'Baku, but I also could have seen that being like in a second movie of Killmonger, who is kind of Black Panther's like, he's kind of like his classic. I mean, there's Claw, but Claw is like a good origin story villain, and then you could bring in Killmonger to be like the villain that like shakes the table. And then the third movie could have been whatever. It didn't happen, but
Did associate
no love lost
that much with Black, because I feel like now Black Panther's Joker is Killmonger in public perception.
But I think that's because of the movie. Like, I think before in all the adaptions it was Claw. Like I remember the Avengers cartoon.
But these movies change how people perceive. I mean, the universe. So
now they have their own canon.
Now, if you ask a kid who's Black Panther's arch nemesis, they would probably just
say the revolution will not be televised.
My news is Marvel related, but not MCU related. It's just that Morbius, the film starring Jared Leto about the living vampire, was delayed another week into 2022.
That's awesome.
It was supposed to come out in 2020. Stuff happens, and there's really nothing else to say about it except that it got delayed, and there's no way it's going to be good.
So excited.
With that is that they don't know whether or not Spider-Man's in that universe. In that
because the Vulture is in it.
In that trailer, there was that picture of Spider-Man, but it's the Raimi.
Sam Raimi. Mm-hmm.
It's it's the Raimi suit from the PS4 game. So it's not even like. So it's one of those loading screens. Did you see that from the PS4 game where they put on?
Oh, it's a still. Yeah.
So what's going on?
Of the 3D model.
Like weren't paying attention. It would seem.
I have the rights to use that.
Then what is going on? Is it the MCU? I mean, like you said, there's the Vulture. Nothing.
No, I hope Michael Keaton is playing a completely different character. I hope that would be something.
Maybe they're planning on
Zach has the same outfit on.
No, I want him to be
coming out post Spider-Verse, I think.
So the blue Spider-Man is just walking around now.
I think it all collides, and now the MCU.
I think it's supposed to be set. It maybe is supposed to be set in the Maguire universe.
Oh my God!
That's my only theory about it.
That means
which is
Venom
why
is in the Maguire universe.
That means. Wait, no! It can't be the Maguire universe because Venom, the version of Venom, is different from the Topher Grace Venom, so it has to be the Andrew Garfield universe.
It would have. The reason all this stuff is getting pushed back together is because Doctor Strange is going to do that movie, Multiverse of Madness, is going to do something that allows people to travel through. Universe.
What movie is going to do it first?
Zach has an idea.
What movie is going to do it first? Spider-Man or Doctor Strange? Spider-Man comes out first.
Spider-Man.
Then Spider.
Fucked up the order. I think they were supposed to do Doctor Strange first, but Sony got greedy.
No, I think it was always supposed to be a trilogy. It was supposed to be WandaVision, Spider-Man,
Doctor Strange.
Zach, you had an idea.
I wanted to change my news immediately to the Andrew Garfield clip that someone shared to our group chat.
I think that was me.
Yeah, of Andrew Garfield just losing his mind over the rumor that he is.
Squirm. I don't think I've ever seen any like A-listers squirm like that.
That was hard to watch.
That was like, it was. He really like didn't really know how he goes so over the top in like a 2-minute span, just like talking and talking and talking. It's like, okay,
yeah, explaining mafia,
right?
He brings mafia into it. That's just that he's under the spotlight.
Werewolf. He's like, have you ever played werewolf? The guy's like, no, it's like mafia. The guy's like, okay, I know mafia. For the rest of the conversation, he keeps calling it werewolf. He doesn't call it mafia.
Right.
What's super strange about that clip, Zach, is that we know his stunt double has been on the set. We know his stunt double's on set. We know Jamie Foxx and Alfred Molina both don't care, are like, hi, we are the same character from the last movie.
Tobey Maguire went to an costume suiting.
Fitting. Yeah.
So what we know, and someone called Andrew Garfield and was like, you are the last hope. Please don't say anything.
Yeah, that was I mean, and that interviewer just clearly didn't know what to do with that information. He was just kind of sitting there the whole time like, okay,
yeah.
And he wanted
but
him
then
to
also like, yes,
go for it.
I was going to say what you were going to say is that he wanted Garfield to give a yes or no, and Garfield just said, I have not gotten a call, which is like,
face beat red, eyes popping
I don't know
out of
why
his
you
skull.
couldn't. I don't understand. Like, I get why don't say yes, but I don't know why you can't say no either. Like, what's the legal ramification of saying no, I'm not in it, and then you are in it?
Because that just made it way more suspicious. Like, he goes so overboard.
Because I guess no would be a lie, but he also lied by saying no one called me.
Right. So that's why I'm like, just say no, but
commit,
I don't know.
Commit to it.
I guess
commit to the bit.
Get in trouble if he just can't sell his denial of being in the movie.
Oh, he just makes himself look crazy.
You know what's wild about this whole situation, guys? This is a Spider-Man movie. Spider-Man, probably my favorite Marvel character, is very low on the list of like spoilery characters. Like Spider-Man, literally most of the plots are Spider-Man has to go to the prom. Also, Green Goblin is destroying the city. And like
that villain has split personality disorder. They talk to them.
They have found a way to make Spider-Man like a landmine. Like we don't know. We can't. That's the Spider-Man movie. It's very strange.
There's so much going on with the Spider-Man IP. There's never like a dull moment.
He's never at rest.
I mean, I'm sure there are, but we could just do a podcast entirely on Spider-Man.
We could review
absolutely. Issue to issue.
We could review the 5,000 Spider-Man titles currently running.
I'm not even talking about comics. I mean, games, fucking TV. There's several cartoons coming out.
Let alone comics. Yeah. But Wes, your news brings us to a slightly different geeky thing.
All hail Optimus Prime.
What's going on?
Long may he reign.
Long may he reign.
I don't know what this
Long
is.
may he reign on the Earth and on Cybertron. The two leads of the Optimus. That's not an Optimus Prime movie. It's a Transformer reboot. Or we don't know if it's
he's
reboot.
Been resurrected.
He has been brought back to life.
Did
he die?
He's risen.
Wait, what?
No, I'm just kidding. There is a new Transformers film coming out.
We're doing a Christ thing.
It is unconfirmed whether or not the Transformers movie has anything to do with Bumblebee, with the Bay movies, with the 1985. Like we don't know.
Oh, okay.
But it is a Transformers movie that is coming out starring Dominique Fishback, which we called it on this very podcast that she was going to be huge, and here she is, and also Anthony Ramos of Hamilton. And
In the Heights.
he was in Star is Born and in the Heights.
In the Heights, of course.
Who's voicing our favorite big silly robot?
Probably Peter Cullen.
The same guy.
He's been voicing off.
Listen, collect that check as long as he can.
So that's going to be like the one time where they reboot something, but like keep the actor that everybody loves.
They've been doing it for years with Optimus Prime.
They did it with The Lion King. James Earl Jones came back as Mufasa. He also came back for
I feel
Rogue.
like famously with like reboots, like the main like pitfall is that you have to recast actors everyone loves.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Like with Candyman, the fact that they kept Tony Todd was fucking awesome. Because like when they remade Nightmare on Elm Street, they had to drop Robert Englund. You know.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that Candyman is not a reboot. I think that's a direct sequel to the first one. In the same way we talked about last week.
I'm really excited for that movie. I have to watch the first one actually.
Still a reboot by my definition.
But I'm very excited for Transformers. I was a big Transformers fan as a kid, and I've watched 4 out of the 5 Bay movies and Bumblebee, which is literally a film about Haley Steinfeld falling in love with a robot.
Yes.
Wait, which Michael Bay movie did you not see?
That one of the better ones.
I did. Yeah, Bumblebee is pretty good.
Everybody told me it was like.
I did not like
good.
Bumblebee.
Really? Oh wow.
Okay.
Well, it's going to be the next medium.
Well, then I guess.
No, but no. The one I didn't watch, Zach, was the first of the Wahlberg movies.
Okay. With the
God.
dinosaurs.
But you watched the second
Age
one.
of No.
I did where they're fighting King Arthur and
Optimus.
Optimus has a sword instead of an axe, which doesn't make sense. Optimus carries an axe.
Doesn't one of them have Nazi shit?
That's the same one that he's talking about. That's the same one.
God only.
That's the one where Anthony Hopkins shows up to collect a check.
Why?
Why?
I think you guys didn't.
Hitler, right?
You guys didn't ask. You guys didn't ask. You guys didn't ask. But if I were to rank the Transformers movies, I think it's
please.
It's Bumblebee, Dark of the Moon, and the first one, and then the other two can fight for dominance because 5 and 2 is a terrible film.
It's
like,
horrible.
well, you read that one thing. We didn't ask. So.
You didn't ask. Now everybody knows.
I think that's fair enough.
Why not?
Well, that's my news though.
Wow.
Yeah.
Very excited.
There's our news. We're going to take our first break of the episode and come back to talk about the train wreck that is this Mortal Kombat reboot. See you there.
Clap it up, everybody. Clap it up for Mortal Kombat. God.
Welcome back. As we said at the end of the last segment, we are talking about the 2021 reboot, Mortal Kombat, directed by Simon McQuoid, starring Louis Tan, Joe Taslim, Hiroyuki Sanada, and some other folks. It is based off of the video game franchise, Mortal Kombat, obviously, from the late 90s. And it's also produced by James Wan, among some other people. So that's something.
He's a high
Before we get started, because I think I wouldn't say any of us loved this movie, but I would challenge us, maybe in addition to our initial impressions, to say one thing that you really liked about it, and none of us can have the same answer, right, so we can't all say the action.
This is going to take a while.
Should we start with me?
Yeah, go ahead, Dan.
Just off the cuff, I think there's not a lot of gore, but when the scenes of splatter are pretty satisfying. I love that spinning hat kill where it's like a buzzsaw and that winged lady gets cut in half. I love the cyborg like crunching that guy's head. That's cool. The movie needed a lot more than that. It needed to be like hard R, and I think that maybe would have in like so bad it's good territory where like it's bad but you watch it because it's a lot of fun. Instead, the movie we got is just like, boring and bad. But
yeah. Fair.
That's my
Zach.
Oh my god. Okay, I guess I kind of enjoyed the first scene. I thought it was cool to also have these actors speaking Chinese, Japanese. I thought that just like added something to it, because in Mortal Kombat they're obviously all speaking English. So
I agree with you. I think that opening was pretty strong.
Which is why they actually released the first 7 minutes separately as a teaser for the movie before it came out.
Desperate, yeah. It was I did like that.
On like a set though. I mean, it doesn't seem like a real location at all. It's such a set, You can see where the borders end and where the green screen comes up.
I thought that was a cool opening. I liked the acting from Bihan and Hanzo Hasashi Scorpion. I thought that was just a cool dynamic. So overall, I think that scene was that was a pretty cool scene.
It's cool that they didn't whitewash it, but I guess that's kind of like lowest. I mean, just expecting so little.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting that you mentioned that, Zach, because when they are speaking to each other in their respective languages, literally the moment before Scorpion says, "I don't understand your tongue," I was like, "Oh, this is interesting. Like, are they just like letting them speak in their languages and understanding each other without explaining it?" Yeah, because that's what Tekken, which is another fighting video game, does. There's like a trillion different languages in that, and no one is ever like, "I can't understand you." So it's kind of like if it's a fighting game and everyone's just going to communicate through combat anyway. I thought that was kind of cool, but I agree. With what you said, Wes?
Yeah, I mean, I probably like this the most of all you guys. I don't know. I really liked Scorpion. I thought Scorpion was a really cool design, a really good adaptation of how that he looks in the video games, and I thought him crawling out of hell slowly of the film, and then arriving and being like, "I've crawled out of hell to kill you."
Yeah,
I was like, "This movie has reached Euphoria." And
questions just like about the lore.
Don't question it. It's fine. He was in hell. He's no longer in hell.
He goes to hell and burns in hell for like decades, I'm guessing, and that makes
decades for hundreds of years.
And then that makes him more powerful. And there's no rules, so at any point he could have just come back out of hell to fight someone, right?
It's unsure why he went to hell to begin with, and what
he died.
He was a nice guy. He was
right, but some of the casting is really good. But specifically, I'm going to give my compliment to Joe Taslim as Sub-Zero, and also the effects team around Sub-Zero, which seemed to be the most the strongest effects in the movie. Yeah. When he's hunting Cole in the beginning and like causing all that elemental chaos, and then like there's that really cool shot where Jax gets out of the car and Sub-Zero just like evaporates into the doorway. That stuff like that is cool.
That was awesome.
Pun intended. So I really like that.
Good one. If I didn't know any better, I would say the majority of the freezing effects, like in that boxing room scene and stuff, that all looks practical. I mean, if it was all CGI, they fooled me because it looks pretty good.
Yeah,
it does.
Yeah, a lot of that looked really, really. I think you know where the money goes in this production, and then that's kind of like the issue when you're not looking at where the money is.
Raiden's eyes. They didn't go to Raiden's eyes.
They didn't. That was every time Raiden arrives, it was like Raiden was being shipped in from a CW show. Like it was like
a good actor, a good choice for the actor. Now that I know who that actor is, but I think like the costuming, he looked so like small inside of his own like, and he's already a short guy. So anyway, you know the drill. We're gonna go through the plot summary and stop to make fun of this movie. Dropping a heavy spoiler warning now, but it's Mortal Kombat. You know what the deal is. So, like Zach said, we open in 17th century Japan. Lin Kuei assassins, led by the ruthless Bi-Han, that's Sub-Zero, stage an attack to slaughter the warriors of the rival Shirai Ryu ninja clan, led by Hanzo Hasashi. That's Hiroyuki Sanada, who's also been in The Last Samurai, Ringu. Cool actor. He's been in Avengers Infinity War. He has a cameo as well.
Does he actually?
Yeah, he's the guy that Hawkeye kills in Japan.
Oh, wonderful! Yeah. When Hawkeye is like, "There's no crime in America. Let me go to Japan."
No,
why is he killing all those Japanese people?
Because he's grieving, and
because he's bad guys.
When white men grieve, they have to mass murder.
I'm gonna keep my Boston jokes to myself, but.
So yes, Hanzo kills the attackers before being killed by Bi-Han, resulting in his soul being condemned to the Nether Realm, hell. And then Raiden, God of Thunder, arrives and takes Hanzo's surviving infant daughter to safety. So the whole thing here is Bi-Han. We never find out exactly the root of the grudge, which is another. My big problem with this movie is that it should be about Sub-Zero and Scorpion because they have the most interesting relationship. So this is the lore, right? Basically,
that's what he meant in the beginning. Because I don't think there's a grudge in the beginning. I think it's just
when he kills him, he says for the Lin Kuei,
right? And
like he's killing. He's killing Scorpion, and he wants to kill his entire bloodline because of a specific grievance that isn't explained in the movie. But
do the Hot Boys summer. Let's get these hoodies off.
But solid fight scene between these two, both real life martial artists. So you can see them incorporating that into the choreo. What?
And so from what I know about the lore, it turns out, right, it was like Sub-Zero killing Scorpion's family was actually like an illusion, right? It wasn't Sub-Zero. It was like some other bad guy. Unless is that
that in the game? Because in the movie, it's him. But
in the game,
listen,
it's
man,
like
the only Mortal Kombat games I've played are 10 and 11, and there's a lot of stuff. No, there's a lot more going on.
In the game, just super quick, in the game, it turns out it was like this other super bad guy that killed
Quan Chi.
Quan Chi, right? He killed Scorpion's family. So Scorpion, like he handles Sub-Zero, and it's like, well, that was the wrong guy. It was, it was misguided. So that's all.
Which is why then that Sub-Zero turns into Noob Saibot, the Ghost Spectre guy. But so Raiden shows up. They hide the little girl under like a floorboard, and Raiden shows up and he's like, "Give me that!" And then the title card plays. In the present, the realm of Outworld.
Was your dad?
I mean, it'd be pretty cool.
What happened?
The Scorpion Man was raising you.
I mean, he's like a normal guy until he goes to hell, is what it seems like. He's just a regular like shinobi.
What if your dad had hellfire powers?
What if your dad was Ghost Rider, but not with the motorcycle, but not as cool?
What if I was your dad?
Dan, you've been on this dad kick for the entire week. You texted the group chat asking if... But yeah, in the present, the realm of Outworld has defeated Earthrealm in 9 of 10 deathmatch tournaments known as Mortal Kombat. If Earthrealm loses the 10th, the rules state it will be conquered by Outworld. However, an ancient prophecy is uncovered, stating that the blood of Hanzo Hasashi will unite a new generation of champions to prevent Outworld's victory.
Cool.
Aware of this, soul-eating sorcerer Shang Tsung, wearing the worst wig. I've ever seen.
Gosh! They literally took one of the unused Targaryen wigs from Game of Thrones, and was like, "Can we borrow this?" And they dipped it in black paint. And they were like, "Here you go."
Yeah, this guy, by the way, this is the same actor who played. Y'all remember? Obviously, you've all seen The Dark Knight a bunch of times. The Chinese guy who Batman
goes all the way out there,
extradites from China.
Yeah, Batman breaks several rules.
Everyone's favorite part.
Yeah, the Squealer, as Joker calls him.
Yeah.
Shang Tsung sends his strongest warriors to kill Earthrealm's champions, identified by a distinctive dragon mark, before the next tournament begins. So here's another thing, because like I feel like criticism of this movie is often met with like, it's just like, it's supposed to be goofy, but I actually think this movie is taking itself relatively seriously with the way that it tries to explain things.
It's trying to strike a balancing act, I would say. Some scenes are like supposed to be dark and you're supposed to feel stuff very clearly, but then there's like that green screen, like a cyborg fight, like with all the lava around him,
right?
Just out of the game, and it's like, okay, this is dumb, and we know.
And then there's Kano, who's making 5 pop culture references a scene.
Okay. Well, but, here's the thing, and I think Zach, we may have mentioned this in the group chat somewhere, or maybe not. I think this movie has been edited to bits. Like I think this movie is cut up. Because the tone, it feels a lot like the G.I. Joe movie from 2009, which I believe was also cut to bits. It feels like the thing Warner Brothers frequently does, which is the Hasbro effect. I mean, but Warner Brothers has been known to do it, which is like they have a script that's dark. They test it. They're like, this isn't working. They cut out large portions of the thing, and they put in comic relief, and they're like, here we go. But like, because like the Jack storyline, which we'll get to, and the Sonya Blade storyline doesn't have a resolution. Like the second act is missing from it.
I have so many questions about her character.
But also the we were just talking about the Kano bit feels like that was a serious character at some point in the script. I feel like he was a serious character at some point in the script. And they comedic relief. But he's comedic relief, but then he's a bad guy and he's lethal. Like he's a lethal bad guy. Like we're supposed to take deathly seriously once he becomes a bad guy.
Are we? Because he's still cracking one-liners and being stupid.
While he's getting thrown around by Sonya in the out RV trailer, it is kind of quippy.
Okay, one thing, just guys, I'm sorry, and like we'll go back. Why? So this blonde one is Sonya. She lives in an RV, and yet there are underground tunnels. It's a house on wheels. Yeah. And yet she has these underground tunnels ready in case she needs to, like, take on. Oh my god! How did she?
Because doesn't she?
I'm sorry.
Doesn't she have Kano locked up underground? Right? Is that
no?
Like
he's not in the. She's tied to a chair, and there are only tunnels that are big enough.
But not in the RV. It can't be
around underneath the RV. No, there are tunnels underneath it, and like in RV.
Right. I'm saying when she goes to the room. When she goes to the room with the Mortal Kombat Easter eggs on the wall, is that in
I thought
the
that was
RV?
like a garage.
I think that's a separate space.
I think they fucked up the cognitive mapping or whatever, because she just lives in an RV. What the fuck? That was like the weirdest part of the movie. I was like, there's underground tunnels?
That was the weirdest part of the movie.
Why would you do that? That's so like non-Mortal Kombat.
That was the
have,
weirdest part of the
spin
movie.
kick moves? Doesn't she have fucking a bunch of spinning, like, hair whipping moves and shit? Like they made her shimmy around in underground tunnels. I got hung up on the tunnel. I just didn't understand why
it was stupid.
Yeah, no, the production design of this movie leaves a lot to be desired. But yeah, Shang Tsung, he sends his strongest warriors, which really just means Sub-Zero. One such champion who has this dragon mark, a former professional MMA fighter, Cole Young. This is the original character that they created for Mortal Kombat. Is attacked alongside his family by Bihan, who now calls himself Sub-Zero. However, Special Forces Major Jax Briggs rescues the Youngs, directing them to find his partner, Sonya Blade, while he stays behind to fight off Sub-Zero. This is a cool fight scene, I think. Well, specifically, it's cool when Sub-Zero destroys this man. Why
wouldn't he die from that?
I don't know. The arm thing. The arm thing, I was like, okay, maybe he'll survive. Oh, he hits his head on like concrete and falls 20 feet.
Crunch sound. I could have sworn there were like blood particle effects coming out when his
head burst like a watermelon. I was like, no, he's dead. Yeah. No, he's dead. But it's a cool fight. Huh?
Can I just add something?
Please.
Something about the tattoos. If Robot Man was like run over in like a freak accident, or like, I don't know, someone inadvertently kills him somehow, they become like a champion of Earth?
Yes.
Correct.
That's what it seems like.
Correct.
So, if some like mechanic like was fixing your stove and he created a gas leak inadvertently and you blew yourself up in a fire, that mechanic now like has this tattoo and you can compete.
To be fair, I guess it would have to be in combat. Like they'd have to fight you for it. But it is.
Okay.
But here's the thing. Here's the thing about these rules that doesn't make any sense. The Mortal Kombat's tattoo that not only these people have, but also your first dorm mate in undergrad has, grants you superpowers that you have always had inside of you.
Man.
And you must master these superpowers. You must master them through stress.
Through it's different though, right? Because with Kano is verbally bullied into his superpower coming forth. They just kind of trash him. They're like, "You're stupid, you're ugly, you're never gonna do," and he gets violently pissed off about this, as if
stupid.
Yeah, as if Sonya has never got into an argument with Kano and pissed him off like this.
Right.
Like if Kung Lao is like, you're a failure, and he gets so mad that a laser comes out of his single eye, then how did that not happen before?
They called him a piss baby.
Yeah, well, let's talk about Kano, because
he's the worst actor in the movie, I think.
I disagree.
I disagree.
Cole Young.
Louis Tan is pretty bad. No offense, but Louis Tan is pretty bad in this.
Louis Tan is barely in the movie.
Who is that?
The main character.
It's
exactly
Cole Young.
Exactly, Dan. Exactly.
When is he given opportunity to really emote? I mean,
anytime though, right?
Well, first of all, when his family is I mean, this is in the movie, when his family is frozen by Sub-Zero. Oh, also the casting is weird because I swore that little girl was his sister.
Exactly.
And then he kisses that woman, and I'm like, what?
No, that is.
That's not his daughter.
That is his daughter. I thought it was his younger sister.
I thought it was his sister.
No, I knew it was his daughter.
No, that was weird. 10 was his sister. Nobody can tell me anything. I think it was his sister, and then they were like, "No, bring in a wife, and then
bring in another guy."
This is what we're talking about, Zach. These are three movies Frankenstein together. I think that was supposed to be his sister in one draft, and then in a rewrite, they made it his daughter, and they just kept the scene. No one was like, "Hey, rewrite the scene."
I've seen characters where like they bring like their kids to work with them and stuff. I mean, this isn't even the first we've seen in the movie where a boxer like has their kid come into work.
That's not the part that's hard for me to believe, that he brought his daughter there. It's just the literal casting of like the ages of these characters and their interactions. Sorry?
Yeah.
Well, the main guy looked like he could maybe be like 28.
Yeah, and she looks like she's at least 10.
Okay.
It can happen. It can happen, but that's not.
Listen, the movie says it's his daughter. It's his daughter. I'm just saying I was shocked to see him kiss this woman in front of her because I didn't understand the relationship until he did that. But Cole tracks Sonya to her hideout, where she is interrogating a captive Australian mercenary named Kano. Of course, Sonya attacks him as soon as he gets.
Listen to me. Listen to me about this. Cole Young also, right? He's attacked by this man that causes it to snow in LA, right? And then he raises the snow back into the air in this crazy anti-gravity effect. And Cole Young, his first response, instead of being like, "Holy shit," is really like, "I will join this fight." He is so on board to join this battle immediately. Like when Jack,
especially for someone who
kind of works out for that Sonya lady. I mean, she's obsessed with the tournament her entire life, doing all this extensive research. Mm-hmm. She manages to track down and capture a guy who has the tattoo, and then like she just goes with all these other like god-like individuals, right? And then gets the. I mean. Everything just works out for her.
But also, go ahead, Justin. I'm sorry.
I just want to suggest to what Zach was saying is that it's weird because like obviously like there are a lot of movies where like the character just has to fall in line because the plot has to move and they can't have time for like regular human reactions, right? But they specifically set up Cole Young to be someone who doesn't have confidence in himself as a fighter. So then 7 minutes later for him to be like, "Are you sure you want me to run away? We can take him together." Like, no, dude, get in the car and drive to Colorado or wherever you're supposed to go. This man is an elemental.
but along what you're saying, Justin, it's strange to me because this is how I feel. This is why I feel like the writing in the film is either the writing or the editing. Someone is to blame for this because in a story like this, you have a character like Cole Young, right? Yeah. And Cole Young is great at fighting. And you see him dominate fighting at the beginning. So that when he goes into this mythical world, he's outgunned, but he's a master at what he's doing before. Mm-hmm. So you're like, wow, this guy who's really good is now outgunned by this crazy. That's how you create a character that you're like, yes. That's how you create stakes for a character. Yeah. Or you create a character in this arc where he's washed up and he clearly has skills, but he's washed up. They choose to do neither. And just happen to be bad at fighting. He's just bad at fighting sometimes.
Until he's not. Yeah.
Until he gets the vibranium armor. But we'll get there.
Okay. One more thing about like the rules and the lore and shit.
Please.
So everybody has a power.
An arcana.
Kano is a laser beam man.
Yeah, this is not in the games, by the way.
At first I'm thinking like it's elemental stuff. Like Sub-Zero, obviously, it's like self-explanatory. The one guy can shoot fireballs. Scorpion, I guess, just has spikes that come out of him, but like whatever. But then, like the one guy, I was so confused. Like he gets his arms cut off. They attach little toothpicks to him. Oh, God. And then when his power kicks in, his arms bulk up.
Grow metal.
So from the get-go, his power was
metal.
Requires his arms to be ripped off.
He gets a metal limb that he'll be able to. I was so confused. What was the power? That if you have a new limb, you can beef up the limb. Like, what was his power?
Unclear. Okay. You see, I guess it would be. Well, this is another thing. Well, I'll say like the movie taking itself too seriously. In the game, for example, let's start with Kano. Kano just has a cyborg eye. That's it, and it shoots lasers. Fine.
Great.
You really couldn't have done that. Instead, you give him like a scratch and then it has to be an innate power. In the game, Sonya has little power wrist gauntlets that she can shoot those rings out of. Fine.
Oh yeah, she did have that towards the end. I was wondering.
Yeah, but they don't come out of her skin.
They're weapons.
It's fine.
They're
Jax gets his arms ripped off by an enemy, not Sub-Zero, by someone else, and then he just gets them replaced by metal arms. He's in the military. It's fine.
So this is all made up shit that eventually they find their power. That's all.
Yes, right? None of that is in the.
Yeah, the Arcana thing, as far as I know, is totally like yes, people have abilities in the game, but they just have it. It's magic. It's whatever.
Because in the game, they've been bringing in characters from movies. Like the game is the Terminator, Rambo,
Batman.
They had Freddy Krueger. They had Freddy Krueger at one point. They were going to bring in Ash from Evil Dead. Bruce Campbell came in and did a bunch
RoboCop. Yeah.
What's Batman's Arcana? Like what is
no? Well, Batman is in Mortal Kombat versus DC, but he hasn't been a guest character because you can't perform a fatality on Batman, but you can do it on the Joker.
So I'm only now getting that the movie made that up.
Okay, but
Yes.
okay,
It's all right.
I know
it's
that
unclear.
Guys, the train is off the rails, but I'm just going to keep driving it. I have a major fundamental thought. This should have just been a 10-episode HBO Max series because there's too much.
Max, correct.
Too much world building.
Prestige.
It doesn't. They are. They are
HBO?
They are sometimes prestige.
Well, but they're hosting it on their platform. I mean, if it's like the difference is just like who the money's going to produce it.
Here's the thing, and I was going to bring this up earlier. We brought up how James Wan is attached, and I like James Wan just because, as like a filmmaker who's independent, like it's always inspiring to see a guy who started with nothing being handed these huge projects. Like he started with like Saw and stuff. They shot the first Saw movie in like a month, something like that. And then, moving forward, like his horror movies that he's done, he's managed to make look really good.
Yes.
But when they give him tentpole movies, they look like shit. Like Aquaman looks awful.
Aquaman is pretty bad.
And I'm just wondering what's going on with James Gunn because James Wan, because he really seems to phone it in when they give him huge projects, but when it's like smaller scale indie stuff, it's like impressive.
So
it might just be a matter of capacity, like he's just better with smaller scale stories, and maybe like having more money doesn't necessarily help.
So I'm always conflicted when it comes to James Wan.
That's understandable. So she's Sonya has Kano captive. This is this guy doing an Aussie accent. She reveals that she and Jax have been investigating Mortal Kombat's existence, and that the dragon mark can be transferred to anyone who kills the original bearer. Oh, God. So I guess not even in combat, just straight up kills him. The hideout is attacked by Shang Tsung's, because I think they even say like Kano snuck up on the other guy. Like it wasn't even a fight. I think he just like
Sonya could have blasted Kano in the face while he was
at any
in
point.
That chair. Now she has the tattoo. And
did you lure him into her trailer with like a kangaroo, like some shrimp on the
some eucalyptus leaves? The hideout is attacked by Shang Tsung's reptilian assassin Reptile, but a reluctant Kano kills him with Cole and Sonya's help. This is when he says Kano wins, and it's the first of many times that the film acknowledges.
I like
it's
it.
a video
I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I love it.
It's fun. No, that's fun.
The movie, I feel like, never takes itself that seriously.
I love it.
I disagree.
Except for with the Arcana stuff and with
Cole Young.
And Cole Young, who is definitely supposed to have an arc.
I'm so sorry. Cole,
you need your main character to kind of be an anchor. So
listen,
sure.
Even in comedy, your main character.
I think because Zach and I, we talked about this, and it's like, okay, because spoiler alert, at the end of this movie, they tease Johnny Cage in the next one.
A very popular character.
The Mortal Kombat has such a deep bench of characters that any one of them could have been the guy that you say, okay, this is their first tournament, and they're our eyes into the universe. Like the fact that they made a new character is strange to me.
Or whatever.
I think that's the thing. They didn't want a white actor to lead it.
But they could have. You could have made Johnny Cage Asian. Like, why couldn't you just have? Like, I don't like the actor that played Cole
Johnny
Young.
Cage's whole thing is that he's like the like bravado, like beefy white guy. He's modeled after the guy from Big Trouble in Little China, the Kurt Russell main character.
But I mean, you could have just bent it and made it a commentary. We don't even see Johnny Cage's face on the poster. Like they could race bend him now,
which means they still haven't figured out that they even want him to be a white guy. I mean,
it's 2021. I assume in the universe of the Mortal Kombat movie, so I assume you could have just said, "Oh, it's Henry Golding," or you could have just made Liu Kang. Like I don't know why.
Who's that?
He's Liu Kang is the Fireball guy.
Well,
who's that exactly in this movie? Let's get there. So, Reptile attacks. Kano wins. Pretty cool scene. Kano, there are some moments where I think he's genuinely funny, but I think like anything else they do too much. They realize that Kano knows where Raiden's hideout is, so they travel to his temple and they meet Liu Kang and Kung Lao before being brought to Raiden himself, who's critical of them, and then they're joined by Jax, who Raiden rescued and fitted with a set of very crappy mechanical arms. Shang Tsung attacks the temple.
Toothpicks attached to his body.
They're
So the editing again, I think we already talked about it, but every scene from like the point that they get to the temple onward,
it looks like he has tripods for arms.
Yeah. It's cut so quickly. When as soon as each scene ends, it's over. There's no breathing room between and even video game cutscenes have more like space between lines and stuff.
Cole gets punched in the face, and now we're in Outworlds with Shang Tsung. It's like the fight isn't even over.
Super important.
And you know why? You know why it doesn't really work? It's because if this was just a stupid movie that was like, this is for Mortal Kombat fans, we're not going to explain anything. Then I think it would be more enjoyable, because every 5 minutes in this film, someone goes, these are the rules of the Mortal Kombat, and this is world building. And they have to build it into dialogue, where if it had a little bit more time to breathe, like in a miniseries, you wouldn't have had to do all of these information dumps.
Yeah, and you could have included the tournament.
Here was my thought process while watching it. I'm sitting there, I'm like, this really doesn't work. It's kind of just like
stupid,
weird, and like structured strangely and stuff. And I was thinking, like, well, what if it was a miniseries, or what if it was still a film, but like it was just these vignettes of like these people from different backgrounds, like robots and vampires, all that shit, and like they're fighting. And then I was like, you know what? Like, that wouldn't even work. I would still be bored. So I think no matter what, a Mortal Kombat movie just was never going to work.
No matter what, some things should stay in the medium that they're made for.
No, exactly. Yeah, I mean, that's a whole nother conversation. I mean, there's never been a good video game movie, and the only chance there is of a video game working, I mean, I'm sorry, a video game movie working is like the Naughty Dog stuff, and that's because from the get-go, that's cinematic, and it's already like impressive.
So when you remove my ability to participate in its outcome, then I'm no longer interested in it.
Correct.
Because the thing that makes a video game cool is that I can affect it.
That Naughty Dog stuff always has like a fixed ending, but I think it's just
I guess not the outcome, but I guess I mean the story itself, in general.
It's more engaging because you feel like stuff is happening to you because you're moving through life with these
exactly. Yeah, and even though Mortal Kombat is not that type of game, it's not narrative based, and it's like because obviously like
work. The Naughty Dog stuff might work because from its origin it's already working like a movie does, but like a fighting like Street Fighter, like it would be the same as this. It just there's no way it would work.
I will say though, Mortal Kombat 11, and I mean there are a few of the games before that, like they do try with the storylines, like they have kind of engaging plot lines. Sometimes there's a whole time travel thing, time manipulation thing in Mortal Kombat 11. But the thing is, so many times, because they have to get you into a fighting situation, you'll be like, wait, why are these two characters suddenly going to punch each other in the face? They're having a conversation. Next thing you know, the fighting music starts, and you're like put into the fighting gear, and you're like,
you're pulled back.
Yeah.
And
it's the thing that's video on. Have you seen that donkey video on the Mortal Kombat plots
where he's just like making people rage quit?
No, it's he's playing through like the fourth one, like the ones that have like famous.
Oh yes, with the bad cutscenes,
like 5 twist endings at the same time.
It's weird because like you have wuxia films from China, you have martial arts films that work. I mean, the closest thing to a Mortal Kombat movie I can think of that works is Enter the Dragon. You know what I mean? But like,
it's not like a martial arts movie. Like, there's very lazy wire work.
What? Sorry, what are we talking about?
I'm talking about, because you're talking about martial arts movies and how those are already stand-in Mortal Kombat films. But the actual Mortal Kombat movie is not even like a choreographed like action thing. I'm saying it's lazy CG, it's lazy wire work.
Have you seen that original? Because I haven't, and I
90s.
I have.
I had a VHS of it growing up. I don't remember that much.
It's it's fine.
Yeah,
it's just
Is it and so it's you would think. I mean,
I remember liking it more if I was a baby. So
you watch something like the Raid, where it's like, that's an amazing movie. It's an amazing action movie and martial arts movie. And like most of the fighting in that feels justified because it's like this survival thing, right? Yeah. You're like, but then why doesn't that translate to video game movie adaptations? You think like logically we should be able to make it work, but it just doesn't. It's just either there's too many characters and too much lore over 20 plus games to try to cram into something that's 2.5 hours.
And because, the Mortal Kombat characters are just very outlandish. You know what I mean? Like, again, like they don't have, like, I think the movie felt the need to justify this like display of characters by being like this superpower that they all have, this tattoo. But in the games, you really do have like Raiden, God of Thunder, and then like a literal like special forces soldier with 2 metal arms. You know what I mean? It's
Right.
like
and then a lizard.
and then literally a Komodo dragon. So it's
Or about vampire. Yeah, I have.
Yeah.
Are any of you familiar with Guillermo del Toro's very labored development of a BioShock movie that fell through?
I've heard about how that went.
Guillermo was a huge fan of that game. I mean, to me, the BioShock.
And Dan, I'm sorry, but wasn't he also going to do Shadow of the Colossus? Wasn't that something else that people were interested in him doing?
No, I think he was. I think he was.
I think I heard about that.
I did a lot of research into his BioShock treatment. I was really interested in it.
He would have been great at it.
He had like a full like Rapture like art design team. Like he was ready to go. There were storyboards, very detailed, and it fell apart because it's like I think he just realized that like it just was not gonna work. I mean, maybe BioShock fans would have seen it; they would have been entertained, but like that story only works in a game format. Like when you're watching a movie, you would be yelling at the screen when you see the protagonist do something as dumb as find a syringe at the bottom of the ocean of some glowing liquid and inject themselves with it. It just doesn't make sense. But when you're playing a game, it's like, okay, this is the only way I have to progress. You know, I have to do this. So stories are tailored to their medium. And when you upend the medium, you're missing the whole point. So video game movies... it's a waste.
They're a non-starter. Yeah.
But what I'll say though is I think a Mortal Kombat movie can work. Work is relative. Work meaning like it works for what it is. If you were to make it a sports movie, like if you were to structure it like Enter the Dragon, make it a sports movie, don't explain everything, and just say it's a tournament, a fighting tournament, and pick a character as a POV character. That character has a personal problem, and structure it like a fighting movie.
Which it looks like is going to be what happens in this Shang-Chi movie. It looks like there's some sort of tournament set up in that, you know.
Yeah.
Sorry, basically just returning to this, Shang Tsung attacks the temple alongside Sub-Zero and Milena. But Raiden erects a shield to stave them off. Another moment which is like kind of unclear. While Sonya trains and encourages Jax to fight despite his condition, Cole and Kano train with Kang and Lao to unlock their Arcana, a special power unique to all Dragon Mark bearers. One thing that I thought I did genuinely laugh here is that like that sweep spam that Kung Lao is doing to Kano, where he's like going down and dragon tail sweeping him, or maybe it was Liu Kang doing it, and he keeps falling, and then he tries to jump at the wrong time, and then that was like, okay, I see you guys. That made me laugh. I don't know why that worked and other stuff didn't, but I thought it was funny. And then at one point he calls him Harry Potter, and I'm like, yeah, you've lost me.
Because Harry Potter, some guy with glasses.
Luke, not even. He says no Harry Potter stuff, and then
do fire and stuff.
That's been the funny pop culture reference in screenwriting for like the past 10 years. The guy has glasses. Let's call him Harry Potter.
But also, it doesn't. This is why the whole superpower thing, and I'm sure the superpower thing is there, A, to explain why everybody has special abilities, and B, because we live in a superhero world and it's an easy short.
Let's just say that they're gods, though.
Or you could just say that he studied a special strain of martial arts that allows you to manipulate fire. Like it's really not that hard. Like
I don't actually know Liu Kang's backstory.
You're studying with Raiden.
Well, he seems to have an interesting one in this. Again, a lot of more interesting stories surrounding Cole. But Liu Kang is like, he was an orphan, and then he was like raised by a guy, and then he killed a guy, sent to kill people, and then Raiden found him, and so like that guy, again. And I know the old movies I think were Liu Kang focused. Yeah. It's weird that if you were concerned about diversity and you didn't want Johnny Cage in the lead, then just make Liu Kang the main character. He's Asian.
He's the chosen one of the series too. Like the biggest deal about Liu Kang is like the low key, like high key hero.
Right. Exactly.
So I guess even for fans, this is a piece of shit, right?
It is. Yes.
Maybe. So I mean, listen, we could ask around
and stuff, and if someone who like knows the lore hates it even more than like a casual viewer, then I'm only guessing like fans must really hate this movie.
Yeah.
I think there are a lot of fans who enjoyed it
for who have the fatality stuff. Probably.
I have a friend who's like a Mortal Kombat ride or die, and he's like shitting on people for criticizing it. And it's like, dude, even you must know that like it doesn't even work as like a so bad it's good. It's
sometimes you're starved for materials. Okay. Sometimes your fandom doesn't get a lot of adaptions.
It is. So obviously we talked about this during an argument with Lau. Kano awakens his Arcana, the ability to shoot a laser out of his right eye. Cole is unable to awaken his, despite his persistence.
Wow.
Disappointed with his lack of progress, Raiden returns him to his family, revealing he's a descendant of Hasashi. Way to bury the lead on that, Raiden. Because if you if you knew me when I came in, why wouldn't you tell me that? Anyway,
that's why I know stuff is missing. That's why I know.
Yeah. Shang Tsung gathers Sub-Zero and his fellow warriors, blah, blah, blah. He intends to attack everybody. So they invade the temple again because Cabal convinces Kano to defect. This is where Lau battles and kills Nitara with that sweet buzzsaw scene. He carves her in half.
And
really
then he
cool.
says flawless victory.
Flawless victory. He does say
I love it. I love it.
He does say it. And then, but then he gets... Oh, sorry, this is jumping. Concurrently, the Youngs are attacked by Goro. Goro, who is definitely like, I mean, they're pretty much using him appropriately. He's a big boss character in the, but he has the World of Warcraft face for sure.
But they destroy Goro's like potential and like any like scariness they could take from him, because he just grabs Cole Young and instead of ripping him in half, which he literally does in the games, he just starts punching him repeatedly in the head with his like two other arms, and Cole is fine, but basically
conscious.
He's just like, man, and then he just like,
and we even see there's a whole like PowerPoint presentation earlier where they like point to the different Mortal Kombat champions, and he's one of them, and he's like ripping a guy in half, and everybody's like, "Whoa! I really hope run into that four-armed man."
So problem with power levels. I mean, Justin, what's the name of that character who can bring down lightning?
Raiden?
Raiden?
Yeah.
I thought Raiden was the fire guy.
No, that's Liu Kang.
Liu Kang is the fire.
Raiden is the lightning, like
the lightning
god,
literal thunder god.
The trainer. Okay.
He doesn't even train. He doesn't train them.
I don't know.
He does nothing. He does nothing.
I'm sorry. Okay,
he's
guys,
smoking cigarettes when
all I wanted to say is that the power level thing is one of the main issues, because like he brings down this lightning barrier, and the antagonist, like, don't get after me about names. He's like, it's only a matter of time now, and so I'm thinking, okay, so his power has like a limit. It's draining me to keep this lightning barrier up,
which is logical storytelling.
That's not the case. They defined some other way to bring down the lightning barrier, and so it's like, okay, this guy just has unlimited lightning power. Like it doesn't even matter. And when they take down the barrier, it's like, why can't he just put up a new one? He had it up for like a day, right?
Well, they what it was is they actually explained that by there's a jewel in his scepter that Kano destroys, and that's the source of the sheath.
No one was guarding that thing.
Nope. They left Kano around it. Why wasn't Raiden just standing by his own scepter? Damn it!
His power comes from a scepter.
I guess.
No.
Well, he seems to be independently powered, but like he banged the scepter on the ground to create the shield, and so when Cabal is talking to Kano about like, hey, you could be a bad guy, Kano's like, okay, yeah, I'll do it, and then he snatches he destroys it by like putting the laser.
Let me ask you a question.
My point going into this was there's no power level attached to that, right? It just as much lightning as he wants whenever he wants. Is that right?
Pretty much.
So there's no like gauge with people's power when they're like getting into fights, because like it's just random who wins at what point. Like the one guy that we just mentioned with like the 500 arms is like the champion, right? And he gets killed by a guy who just got his power like in the middle of the fight.
A sweater. He gets killed by a sweater.
Oh, thank God for toothpicks.
He sticks him with those toothpicks that come out of his arms.
Yeah, the tonsils, yes, this is where he develops the Arcana because he sees his family threatened, which I guess is supposed to be thematically relevant because Scorpion saw his family dead, and then that's how he like became the Hellfire person.
No, don't do that.
With his newfound Arcana, Cole kills Goro and helps repel the attack on the temple. Shang Tsung and Sub-Zero are infuriated when they realize that this is a descendant of Hanzo. And Shang Tsung kills Kung Lao is basically the only other thing that happens here. Bullshit. In full view of everyone else, like no one is impeded from helping him.
No, Liu Kang just screams at
him. Out. Yeah. So after mourning Lao's death, Cole proposes a plan to force Outward's champions into single combat with Earthrealm's champions. So this is when they're on the loading screen and they're like, "Hey, Raiden, you can send anyone anywhere, right?" Send me to fight this guy. Raiden agrees, even though Raiden says he can't interfere. He interferes several times throughout the movie,
but
but
not
whatever.
in helpful ways, really.
Raiden agrees, giving Cole Hanzo's kunai, the little thing that he says get over here with, before transporting him and his allies to their targets. Everybody fights everybody. The important fight here is that Cole winds up in his old gym with Sub-Zero, who's abducted his family to lure him into a 1v1. Initially overpowered, Cole's blood ends up on the kunai, releasing Hanzo from the Netherrealm as the vengeful Spectre Scorpion. I've crawled out of hell to kill you, or whatever he says. Cool line. And then Scorpion helps him overpower Sub-Zero and free Cole's family before immolating Sub-Zero with Hellfire. And then he departs as Raiden and the others arrive. And then Shang Tsung comes and he's like, death is just a doorway. And then Raiden's like, get out of here. And he's blasting with lightning and he vanishes. And then blah, blah, blah. Cole now quits his job as an amateur MMA fighter to go find other pro fighters, even though he has a family.
Well, what does that pay?
Other champions. It pays nothing because I know Raiden is not signing any W-2s. So that's the end of the plot. Point being that this movie ends with a Johnny Cage setup that I don't know how that's going to pay off per se. If this movie gets a sequel, I guess I wouldn't be completely surprised. It might have just enough support to like get it over the edge in terms of
to make.
Yeah, I mean, it had a budget of $55 million and had a box office return of 66.9 so far. So it like just broke even, but it's enough. And we'll see how they cast Johnny Cage. There's a lot of wild ideas out there about it, but yeah, like Wes said, they haven't shown his face, which means they're not even sure yet what they want to do with it. We can just rate this thing and move on. I'm gonna give it 2 ninjas out of 5, and those ninjas are Sub-Zero and Scorpion.
Is it my turn? Is it me?
It's whoever.
Yeah, I guess I give it 2 shitty wire work scenes out of 7. So that's like,
nice.
I'm gonna give it 1 Raiden Scepter out of 60.
Wes?
I'll give it 4 Cole Young unemployment checks out of 7.
You're absolutely right.
I didn't hate it, guys.
No, that's fine.
4 out of 7. I said 4 out of
7 is
4 out of 7.
great.
That's the best grade.
That's pretty favorable, actually.
Yeah.
I don't hate it. Guys, look. This movie is dumb. But here's the thing about this dumb movie. I enjoyed the fights. And I wasn't completely lost on the plot, which I was during Godzilla versus King Kong, for example.
I was lost on the plot, but I was entertained by the sparse like deaths and gore and stuff. That was all creative. That was all cool.
Yeah, that's fair. The movie does. I was watching it with Amber, and there were times when she was like, "Oh, I know that move," and I guess that's the response
and he says the line from the game.
Yeah, so it's what am I gonna do? I won't be a grump about it. But we'll take our second break now and move on to Wes's pick for the afternoon Battle Royale.
Yeah.
Battle Royale, the 2000 film by Kinji Fukasaku. Am I correct?
There you go.
Thank you.
He is listening. No, I'm sorry.
He is listening. No. I think he passed away a year after this was made. Actually,
yeah.
Unfortunately. But this is our pick for today. A little bit of background on this. It was distributed by Toho, which is a giant movie studio in Japan. It has an amazing, like, epic opening. Like Toho has an opening that is like embarrassingly better than anything we have here.
Yeah. For those of you at home who are unfamiliar, they've done like every Godzilla movie. Godzilla's their baby.
And it remained unreleased for 10 years in the States because of probably a few factors, not the least of which is the plethora of school shootings that we have in America.
Right.
And then when it was finally released, it was released by Anchor Films in 2010 as a direct-to-video. Yeah. Dan, give us that bad long line.
Yeah, I mean, it's little girls and boys stabbing and shooting and kissing each other a little bit, just
There is some smooching.
it's like everyone's high school experience, It's a pretty good coming of age story. And Tarantino loves it.
As always, we do our bad, good, and letterbox reviews, and Battle Royale has all of those. Our first review comes from Aaliyah with a 4-star review that says, "Not a cell phone in sight, just teenagers living in the moment."
Hell yeah.
A 4-star review from Yi Jean. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name. Run, when you've already presented the main plot on the table in the first 5 minutes and the rest of it is mostly predictable, what do you use to drive your film forward while keeping it interesting? Testicular mutilation. Wait, no, characters. That's right, characters. Good ones and ones with depth.
I forgot about that.
God forgive me for this one. And a 5-star review from Chris, which is me checking my survival bag. Damn, how am I going to kill myself with a pot lid?
Give me a couple toothpicks.
I'll take care of it. Split.
Real fast, this was a giant hit in Japan. It was a $4.5 million budget, which is like pretty surprising given how much effects are in this. Like, there's a lot of effects and there's a lot of children, and I assume kids make budgets go up just from my personal experience making movies. And it made $30.6 million. That's
awesome.
So
not bad.
Good.
And as Dan said, it is a Quentin Tarantino favorite, which I don't know how to feel about.
Yeah, honestly, I don't let that affect me anymore because he's obsessed with fucking Dunkirk. He's crazy about like the most random fucking movies. But like you said, he alleges that this is the best film made since he was born,
or since he started making film. I think he said so. It's the early 90s. All right, let's go on to the Wikipedia article and pull this thing open.
Wes, I wanted to let you know as a fun thing as we move forward. Dubs are really annoying to me, and I'm sure that the versions we all watched were the dubbed version. And I was watching it with the subtitles on, though, the English subtitles, and those actually have like the lines that the Japanese actors are saying, and sometimes the translation that the English actors are saying is so different. So I wrote down some dumb dubs.
You guys watched it dubbed. All of you watched it dubbed.
Yes. I watched what was on Tubi.
Oh no, the sub version. I bought the sub version for $5 on iTunes.
Damn.
So, I rented it from. But this is cool, yeah.
Real experience.
Okay, let's go to the Wikipedia article. In the near future, following a major recession, the Japanese government has passed the Battle Royale Act to curb the nation's juvenile delinquency. Seems like an overcorrection, but okay. Middle school student Shuya copes with his life after his father has committed suicide. Their teacher, Kitano, resigns after being wounded by Justin.
Kitano, yes.
Kitano resigns after being wounded by Yoshitoki, I believe. Shuya's best friend. There's a lot of information.
This scene is funny.
It is hilarious.
This scene is so funny to me.
Dark.
Because what's going on? He's leaving the classroom and gets shanked by a student who runs away, and then that is what informs his decision to create Battle Royale.
Well, but here's the thing. As the child of 2 public school teachers, who are middle school public school teachers, middle school kids are the most horrible,
the worst,
people on the planet.
Yeah,
the worst people. Yeah,
they are the worst people on the planet. And I think, and I'm quite sure that if my stepfather was stabbed in the thigh by one of his students, I think that might be his last day working. Like, I think he's done. So I get it. I know we're not supposed to empathize with the teacher, really, but I do. Like,
I did in that moment.
He's empathetic. His daughter hates him. I mean, they wouldn't have that scene where his daughter is like calling him a piece of shit on the phone unless you were supposed to feel something for him.
I was going to say what's interesting about this premise, just from a political standpoint, and I think what keeps it, what's sort of relevant, is this idea that because of a recession, which had nothing to do with middle schoolers, we're going to punish them. It's like this really interesting thing of like, let's put you through it. Because I thought it was like a population control sort of thing. Maybe that's involved and it's unsaid. But this idea of we caused this, but you're going to suffer for it. And there definitely is an intergenerational conversation happening here that I appreciate.
Inheriting the sins of the father.
I would also say that I haven't read the book. I know the book is apparently also excellent, but has probably a little bit more detail. But the thing about the film that I love so much is the economic storytelling. So we open with like a little title crawl that explains what Battle Royale is, and then we immediately cut to the Battle Royale the year before, and we just see like a little girl like covered in blood with like a little teddy bear. Right. And we immediately know what it is. Like, we're like, okay, like, I don't need anything else. I know what it is. And then we go to the rapid storytelling of the father's suicide, the teacher's weird relationship with this child that will continue through the film, this girl that he has this weird friendship with.
It's not a surrogate daughter thing. He wants to have sex with her.
We'll talk about it, but I think there is a strange relationship and it's meant to be ambiguous, but then we move into him getting stabbed in the hallway, which will take us to 1 year later. Shuya's class takes a field trip, but they are gassed and taken to a remote island.
You hate when that happens.
The teacher reappears surrounded by GSDF soldiers, explaining that the class was chosen to participate in the annual Battle Royale as a result of the act. They have 3 days to fight to the death until a victor emerges. Explosive collars will kill uncooperative students or those within danger zones. Very Suicide Squad-esque. Each student is provided with rations, a map, supplies, and a random weapon. The teacher kills 2 of the students for disobedience, one of them being Shuya's best friend.
Yeah. No,
that's actually a very emotional moment.
It is. Ruined by the dub actors, but I'm.
If you guys shelled out the doubloons for the shekels for the.
It was your responsibility, Wes.
Yeah.
You were supposed to give us the pass.
You were on the line.
I bought you all repo, man.
Get this guy out of here.
But what I will say is, we're gonna have to talk about Hunger Games at some point in this conversation.
Yeah.
But I think the thing that immediately rises this above Hunger Games, which is like a few things do, but I think the Hunger Games books are actually pretty strong. But I think the thing that immediately rises it above that is that this is chiefly not about the setup of it being a battle royale, the way Hunger Games is fixated with Pan Am.
That's true.
You know, the Pan Am. Like Hunger Games is about the games. This is about high school. I think it's much more. I think it has much more in common with like Carrie than it does with Hunger Games. You know what I mean? Like, because I think it's actually more interested in like, how do kids negotiate power and relationships with each other than it is with, hey, wouldn't it be awesome if kids had to kill each other? You know what I mean?
The Lord of the Flies comparisons basically write themselves.
Definitely.
It's very clearly, a Golding-esque, setup. I mean, they're boarding school kids on an island. You don't get more Lord of the Flies than that.
But I think the emotional heart of it being not even, I don't think Shuya and this girl that he has a crush on, but actually being Shuya and this guy that is like his surrogate brother, and him attempting to atone for
Kawada,
like almost abandoning him at some point in their past through the whole movie is really interesting, and it begins here with this guy's collar blowing up in front of his classmates.
Back to that Hunger Games thing, I like that the Battle Royale itself is kind of like a very recent, like almost like fringe group thing. Like they didn't even know it existed, whereas in Hunger Games, it's like their whole lives.
It's like reality TV.
That's the conceit of the world,
And I like the randomness of it, how they're all reacting to the reality situation, that they can't get off the island. I mean, he kills one of their classmates in front of them, and then like the panic sets in. Two of them. Panic sets in. Like, that's all fucking awesome. Like I love that setup. I think the pacing is so perfect, and for me, that just works better than a world where everybody knows that this is going to happen eventually. I like how it feels random. You know.
To your point, Danny, we also don't see parents. I mean, except for the one that we do. We do in a few sparse moments throughout the movie when we get flashbacks. But like when we see parents, it's not like, oh, I hope my son doesn't get drafted into the Battle Royale act. Like there's like the only adults who are in the movie that are talking about Battle Royale are the ones that are orchestrating it. You know.
And I think I mean along that thing, Justin. I think this film in a lot of ways. It also reminded me a little bit of Codename Kids Next Door, that show that was around when I was a kid. Underrated cartoon, but also in that show, it has a distinct feeling of adults are obscure, dangerous figures.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like adults are not there to protect you. Adults are scary. You know what I mean?
Well, that's like a cartoon thing. Do you guys remember in Powerpuff Girls, the mayor's like wife or girlfriend, her face is never shown?
That is his
Miss Bellum.
There's like a ton of cartoons where like the adults,
it started with the Peanut Gallery. I think is probably where it started. That I know. Like they're off screen and you don't even hear it. Womp 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 womp.
But like cartoons intended for children, they're very focused on kids. Like, do you remember Ed, Edd n Eddy? How it was just those 8 core characters and we never met another character.
It's like they're in purgatory.
Yeah, they're in purgatory. It's
drawing it back to this, I think the idea that adults are never viewed as, they're either in this film viewed as dangerous or pathetic. Like they're never protective. Like there's a brief moment where they're like, we told your parents, and it's not like your parents are scared for you. It's like we told your parents, they're cool with it.
Informed consent.
But moving on, I'm sure we'll have a lot more to talk about. The first 6 hours see 12 deaths, 4 by suicide. The psychotic Mitsuko.
So badass.
Mitsuko, who's everyone's favorite character.
Mitsuko? Yeah. I'm sorry. Can we just devote like 2 minutes to her? Very compelling character, very attractive actress. Yes. I was all in on Mitsuko every time she appeared on screen. She is, I think she's really. I mean, it's like, it's kind of the trap sometimes of storytelling where the main character can't always be the most interesting.
Right.
But you surround them with really dynamic characters that kind of, I guess, that
it's
help. Yeah, but there's like the classic foil thing. Even though,
Mitsuko a wet blanket. He's like literally just barely a figure in the film.
But she's really dope, and then we find out her motivation later in the movie as well. One of the things that traumatized her and turned her into the person she is. But I think what's cool is that in that classroom scene where they're being told the rules, you do see her at one point, and I remember like I notated like she looks like she's about that action. Like she looks like she's actually ready to murder someone right now.
She has the most iconic. She has like the most iconic. Again, economic of storytelling is like she has the most iconic villain introduction. It's like she kind of just walks in and she's obscured by darkness.
She's like a slasher villain. It's so cool.
And she has one weapon. She never trades her weapons. She always has the scythe. Like it's very iconic. Like, you know what I mean?
She hung those, like she actually strewed up their bodies like Michael Myers in Halloween. It's so fucking awesome.
She was just like, well, the thing about this film is it's like, it asked the question that people asked around Columbine. I feel like we're always talking about Columbine on this podcast, on this film podcast. Okay. But it asked the question that people frequently asked about Columbine, which is like, were these kids always going to do this, or did they just need an outlet to do it? You know what I mean? And the film seems to suggest that in the terms of some of these kids, they were just looking for an outlet to be violent. And they found it, and they're like,
they take advantage of it.
It's so cool. It's a great character study for like all parties involved. I mean, I want to bring up one thing about her backstory. I think it's awesome. I would have liked to know what happened immediately after. But did you guys notice the editing where like she kind of shoves that guy, and then it cuts to the staircase like being right behind him, but like we know
he was all the way in the room.
He was really far away. It's not enough for me to deduct anything, but there's like a funny editing.
It is.
Justin, do you have anything else to say about this character?
No, not at this time. No, thank you for giving me my space. Please proceed.
And the psychopathic. I don't know if these medical terms that this Wikipedia article are using is fair. But psychopathic Kazu become the most dangerous other players in the game.
Is that that's the one of the transfer dudes who's
he's the redheaded one who doesn't speak ever.
I hate
and
that.
He just sprays
I love it.
Dickhead. I hate that guy.
I think that character is so much fun. Like I think
Oh yeah, he is.
that character is fun because he's I don't know. He's like you have so many characters that are so gray that you can have a character that's just fully a bad dude.
Yeah,
It's
just
you don't need to know anything about him. He's just a bad dude.
The whole thing was like, that's not fair at all. This guy's like an actual like murderer, and he's like he's like an assassin, and they're unleashing him on these like It's like, that's not fair.
You need a
He
foil.
takes out, like, that's not
7
fair.
people.
Obviously, he's gonna kill them all.
He takes out his first kill, right? Is like he literally is like kidnapped. And I was like, oh, this guy's like trash. And then he just like spits his gum out at one dude and takes his Uzi and just lights them all up. And I was like,
yeah, because he's different from it. There's him. Kagawa is the one who is he's like an alum, like a Battle Royale alum, which is unfair in its own right. But then this guy just volunteered to kill some kids. They say he's a volunteer, so yeah, like it's totally.
Oh wait, he's not an alum too?
That teacher just wanted all of them to die.
I thought he was an alum.
No, there's some point where I think it's Kagawa. I call
is
him
he not
Shotgun
both?
Sam. Maybe it's both, but he says like like I that guy just volunteered, that sicko volunteered to be in this.
Yeah.
What the hell?
It's so strange because he's just
That shouldn't
like
be allowed.
he's just collecting weapons like he's in a video game. Like he's literally like someone will drop their bulletproof jacket and he'll just pick it up, put it on.
Yeah, we can't avoid the video game discussion. I mean, the battle royale phrase has kind of changed everything.
But the film is
the whole
designed
time-
to feel like that.
Yeah, exactly. The whole time watching it, I was in like the Fortnite mentality. All right, like get that guy's weapon. Maybe he's got a chug jug.
So okay, the most dangerous players in the game. Transfer student Shogo lets Shuya go after killing one student, while Shuya accidentally kills another student. Basketball player Shinju plots to hack into the computer system to disrupt the program.
Yes.
This is a very bad Wikipedia article because we are missing
So much.
We're missing so much, and also the film is structured to be like a main plot and then vignettes on the plot.
Yeah.
Like little enclosed stories that add to the plot.
Ditch the Wikipedia article. We don't even keep it open to side eye it. But let's talk through the plot as we remember it, right? Because
the romances, that's such a huge
the
part of
romances
this movie.
are the point.
The romances, everyone's a crush. Everyone has a crush on someone, and next thing you know, their head is blown off, and you're like, I guess don't have a crush on that person anymore. They're gone.
Well, I love that scene where everything falls apart, where they're at the lighthouse, and it's like, okay, you know what? It's kind of like a convent of women, and they're like above all this. It's like they're trying to find a way to get around it, you know, like they're not going to stoop. And then the one girl poisons the whatever, and it all falls apart. It's like
horribly
a bomb goes off from the inside, and they all turn on each other. That's the highlight of the movie for me.
Yeah.
That was so cool, seeing these people who feel like they're above this, just in like,
literally above it.
on the like they turn on their heels, and it's just like an eruption comes from inside of their group, and they all turn on each other.
Which
is so great.
Which is why, like, I sent you guys a Nerd Writer video earlier because I'm pretentious, but there's there's a lot of the criticism around this film, like film criticism, has been that this film is the director's, as an old man looking back on how Hiroshima and Nagasaki killed a lot of his friends. Okay. Like he went to school with some kids, and then he went. I mean, after the attack happened, a lot of his friends were dead. Like they were just gone, and him processing it through this lens of this battle royale through the the William Golding framework, and you get it, like in moments like this, in moments like where the girl is jogging and then she just turns and kills that other guy.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like the idea that you go to school with these people and you take for granted that you'll see them every day, and then they're dead, they're gone. You know what I mean? And it's that scene specifically is like very much playing on those anxieties.
We can actually continue on that scene because this is where
it's allegorical for growing up as a whole, isn't it?
Yes.
Like because I feel like everybody has that point when they're growing up where they're like an adult and they think about like a friend they had when they were a kid, and it's like, oh shit, I'm probably never going to see that guy again.
Right.
Damn.
It's kind of what that reminds me of.
This is where we this is the highlight for Chiaki Kuriyama as Chigusa. This is this girl who she's the one jogging, and then she gets confronted by that guy at the end of the crossbow who's like, I've always wanted to have sex with you, yada yada, and he kind of intimates that he's going to assault her, and she makes him pay for it. But I really like this actress. As I said, I think before we started recording, she plays Gogo in Kill Bill, so it makes sense that Tarantino likes this movie a lot, and he recast her. And yeah, so she takes this guy down. She stabs him in the junk twice with a giant knife. Very good choreo here. And then she runs into Mitsuko, and this is a cool little face-off that they have. Two very like deadly women, but at the end, Mitsuko just kind of overcomes because she's
she has a gun.
Lethal. That too, yeah. But I really like this scene. There were like little face-offs that I started to like be excited about seeing certain characters meet other characters because of their level of skill in a way that like with the Hunger Games I never really cared.
No.
I was excited to see that psychopath guy face off with the psychopath girl,
Right. And then they do.
Choreographed fight. It's super cool. He keeps shooting her and she keeps like getting back up. One magical
again, very slasher. Yeah.
Very slasher.
Yeah.
She actually is a slasher villain. That's
that's how they introduce her. She's stringing up bodies like Michael Myers does in the first Halloween.
And
it's so cool.
And she also kills those two boys who want to sleep with her at the pool.
Yeah,
like we've seen a lot of that. Like I think, but I also think what's interesting about that is like she's just kind of like the apex predator. Like she's just every time she runs into someone, you just know that person's dead. Like it's over for that person.
Oh, right. When she runs into, oh gosh, what was the main girl's name? The Shuya's love interest.
Oh, Noriko.
Yeah. Noriko. So when she runs out right to try and find Shuya, who's limping along, and she just stops, and the camera cuts to Mitsuko just like sitting there like on the ground.
Stare.
Yeah, I was. I literally was like, okay, goodbye. It's like you're not making it out of this.
What's interesting about another interesting thing about Mitsuko and going back to what you were talking about, Wes and Dan too, the movie as an allegory for high school, right? Like it's not just an allegory because they are in high school, but it's also like the status and the stakes are still tied into high school. Like the reason a lot of these characters want to kill each other is because of wrongdoings in high school, right?
Yeah.
So like when Mitsuko is cornered by I can't remember, I don't know what her name was, but the redhead girl who like calls her a slut for
I forgot about that.
Yeah, for like I guess like she's intimating that she like stole her boyfriend or her boyfriend wanted to sleep with her, yada yada. And a really cool scene where you're like, oh, she's got a gun on her, it's over, but she turns it around really effectively. And again, this is like, wow, what an interesting way, like to make a teen movie or a coming of age movie where it's like it's turning the vicious nature of high school into a literal demonstration.
Yeah.
But then also keeping that like those undergirding motivations intact. So yeah, I really liked that as far as her character.
And also the score, like the music. I mean, it's very like you'll be in the middle of like someone just got their head blown clean off, and
it's what you're saying, Zach. It is kind of uncanny because in movies where there's gore, I mean like gore with like attention to detail, where there's like real splatter effects and stuff. You don't normally hear like orchestral score,
80s coming of age music.
It's the only movie where I can think of that.
But also, Zach, along with what you were saying before, there's there's like I mean, all movies with scores have themes, but there's a specific theme that is like a love theme.
Yeah.
That is like a theme. Two characters are in love with each other. And it almost sounds like it's riffing on the Leia and Han theme from Star Wars. And whenever you hear it, you're feeling wistful because none of the characters get together. Like, there's no real romance that is like fully...
There's no real payoff, like a full...
There's no real payoff to the romance except for maybe the main character who...
Yeah, they run off together. Okay, you know what, guys? My internet went out right when they run off together, and there's that title card and it says "run." My internet went out.
Oh,
is the movie just there? Is another 6 minutes?
No, there's some.
So the last like 3 minutes I didn't see.
Yeah, no, it's actually just them repeating
The dream.
some
Yeah,
of the
right.
footage that you've seen before. But one thing, yeah, I will say I think it should have ended on that basketball scene. That was really effective. Like when you see them all being happy and hugging each other.
Yes.
And then if it had cut to black after that, that would have been really
Such
cool.
That was really good.
Yeah, go back and rewatch it, friend.
I tried to last night. I was like,
Oh,
all right,
yeah.
it's probably just 6 minutes of credits. I don't need to watch it.
Yeah, no, this is my second time seeing it, but it felt like seeing it for the first time because I like it'd been so long. Well, just real quick to talk about some of the dumb dubs that I noted. Really the thing that frustrates me about dubbed media is that like a lot of times it's like they overcomplicate what's really just a simple line. And like I've studied some Japanese, and I was listening to the English actors perform, and I felt like maybe in some cases they were just performing the like transliterated grammatical Japanese, which is why like the sentences sound strange. So like for example, when Mitsuko is in the shack and she has the taser, the subtitle is one zap to someone with a bad heart and they're pretty much a goner, but the spoken line is someone with a bad heart, one zap of this and he's a goner. And it's, you see, like, so there's stuff like that where it's like it's just awkward. But then there's stuff that seems to change the meaning of the line a little bit too. When Kawada saves pot lid and binoculars in the forest, he says to Shuya, you know, like he's telling him to run, like and the subtitle says not everyone wants to play nice out there, but the dub says, what, you think I'm the only deadly one out there? And like it's kind of,
it's just not
it's
as
weird.
Good.
Yeah, like he's like, you know, not everyone is as nice as I am. I saved your life. Cool, let's keep it pushing. So yeah, there's stuff like that. And also in the poison soup scene, the girl, when she keeps repeating it's not my fault, the subtitles say it's not my fault, it's not my fault, but the dub actress is saying this isn't only my fault, which is again just it's kind of mush mouth.
That's like weird because I interpreted that as she's in her mind placing it on a couple people to cope with the fact that it is almost entirely her fault. So if that's not the intended translation, then that's interesting. Because actually, in that case, I think the dub is better.
Well, I feel like it's the
this
same
isn't
intention.
only my fault. The intention seems to be the same. I just thought it sounded weird.
Right. I like it's not my fault because I feel like it's still pretty clear that she's saying it's not, you know, it's not just my fault. It's also them. Yeah, right. Exactly. It's Shuya too.
She's being realistic and she's grappling with, I did poison the soup, but these other variables were at play.
Right.
You know, I mean, it can go either way. It doesn't really matter. But I think the dub there is interesting.
All of the major players meet and kill each other. There's a really nice subplot where this guy is trying to find this girl he has a crush on that doesn't know he even likes her, and he runs through everyone's story. Like he's with the boys hacking the collars. He saves Shuya. He runs into the girl who gets shot by Mitsuki.
Oh yes, and she asks, "Do you love anyone?" And then she dies in his arms.
Yeah. So and then finally he reaches his girlfriend, and he's like, she shoots him because she thinks he's an invader, and he's like, "Oh, I like you. Like run away before anyone else comes." And you're like, "Oh my god."
It was really sad.
Well, maybe if he didn't come in screaming and running at her, he was like, "Show yourself!" And she, "What are you gonna do?"
Did she say, "You never talked to me"?
Yeah.
That made me. I don't know.
That was great.
That like affected me. That like I was like, oh.
So
for sure.
All of the major players are killed, and it finally ends up with our trio, the older boy and the two main characters versus our primary antagonist, who is our
Mr. Kitano,
Mr. Kitano, who comes out blind because he blows a gas tank. Fully blows a gas.
I'm sorry. You meant you meant the redhead guy. Yes.
He blows a gas tank.
The teacher as the main antagonist.
No. So we have the guy blows the gas tank, fights our three protagonists, pretty easily dispatched for how much of a threat he is through the entire film. Just shot in the head or the throat. Then our old. And then Shogo, our older boy, who has kind of been wrestling with his girlfriend in the last games, who sacrificed herself so he could get out, has kind of returned to the games to kind of pay penance. Pretends as if he is going to go kill our two protagonists, but it's really for the collar because the collar has a listening apparatus in it.
This is a nitpick, guys. Why wouldn't you give him a little wink? God, no, play along. You know.
Oh, it's for the audience.
Come on.
It's for the audience.
I thought he killed them. This
Yeah,
movie. I was like, oh, they're dead. Yeah.
So then he goes to confront the teacher. The other two are like, surprise, I'm still alive. The teacher reveals this Ari Aster-esque painting that he has painted of this.
I thought that was like his daughter's painting or something, like a 6-year-old.
No, it's just his obsession with this girl. With this girl.
Yeah.
It's very infantile.
It's very strange.
Terrible.
He's just lit up. He's just lit up by these 3 teenagers.
Yeah.
They just shoot him up.
Well, I noticed that this movie has like a running like motif of people getting shot multiple times and then like getting
surviving,
up and then getting shot one more time, and that's what does it. Because he gets shot like 2 or 3 times, and then he kind of plays dead, which is not the first time it happens in the movie. He's playing dead, then gets up and has like a whole phone call, and then gets shot again, and that's it. Do they shoot him again? Or does
He just folds over. You know, I was gonna say the same thing, because getting shot in this movie isn't like even that big of a deal. Like you kind of have to get blasted 70 times to fully die.
Yes.
Well, even when
guys at the end of Scream. Have stat shot, and they just keep getting up.
And the only one it makes sense with is the kid who got the bulletproof jacket as his thing. But even then, bulletproof jackets don't exactly work like that.
No one goes for
They're
the
useless after like 1 shot, I think.
Yeah,
I think
they are.
Well, it depends on the caliber. It's the caliber.
An
of
Uzi,
the bullet,
maybe.
yeah.
I feel
But
like
he's shot close range like 6 times.
Yes.
It should be done.
So the Ari Aster painting, they kill the teacher. They go on the boat. The Shogo is like, hey, someone is like, hey, the girl smiled at you because she loved you and she sacrificed herself for you, and that's enough for him to die in peace. Out of what wounds he's dying from, God only knows. He was shot 4,000 times. The two leads go back to mainland Japan, and because they have pimped the game, are now fugitives, I guess.
Yeah.
And they run off, and then I
guess so. You would think they'd be heroes.
You'd think, but
Only one can survive.
Well, this is where the Hunger Games truly is pulling. Is the couple survives because of their pair ingenuity or whatever. But in the Hunger Games, they're considered heroes, and here they're fugitives.
By the way, I thought Danny, obviously you know John, of course. There is this guy playing Kitano is his name in real life is Takeshi Kitano. And in JonTron's video about like Japanese bootleg video games, he talks about this guy, and he's just like this eccentric filmmaker, like actor, television presenter, and author. So just do yourselves a favor, listeners, and look him up. But I thought his death scene was pretty cool too. Again, an instance where someone is shot and it takes like 5 minutes to actually like go through. But he gets up.
They get shot enough to where they start pretending to die, and just waiting. Eventually to die. Like the whole time they were just pretending.
Yeah.
He's not the only person that happened.
No, exactly. Yeah, but he's like on the floor, and then gets up, walks over to the couch, is like, the last cookie. Dies.
Has a phone call.
Great death.
Has a phone call to his daughter.
The phone call's before he gets shot. That's before he gets shot.
No. He talks to her after.
No,
right?
no. He talks to her after.
Yeah.
He does?
Because the phone is what brings him back to life.
Yes.
Oh,
yes,
it rings.
It rings.
Right.
I thought, I was like, it was never real. None of it was real. He wasn't ever shot. Like I had no idea what was happening.
Yeah, like the game was a test.
I thought it was another twist because
exactly.
gun is a squirt gun.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's like, okay, he was planning on. It was like a Shutter Island thing. I thought.
Right.
It's like, he's planning on.
Well, kind of like the end of Hunger Games, where it's like, because I mean, we said the couple thing, but like, because Katniss like defied us, we're going to let her win the game the way she wants to. So it's like, because Shuya and Noriko like figured it out, we'll let them go. Yeah, but no, he just straight up dies. And then I guess that's
so they run off, and then they have a pair of epilogues. The very last epilogue, which is a flashback to Noriko and the teacher. I don't need it. It's the one part. It's one part of the movie that makes me
good thing I didn't see
uncomfortable. It's just him turning to her and saying like, what should an adult say to a kid right now?
Yeah.
And then
the basketball thing is much. The basketball thing, which is like a reoccurring theme through the whole thing.
Yeah.
And you keep getting context for who these people are. And then at the end, you see the basketball game fully, and you're like, "Oh, this is this is them.
Also, really effective in this, Wes, is you kind of are watching the game with Mitsuko now. And you see her like be ecstatic when the home team wins, and then like she slips out by herself because she doesn't have any friends, and you're like, come on, everybody talk to each other. You know?
Also like just like a beautiful girl, and like no one likes her. Like I look, I know high school is terrible, and like very attractive people get ostracized in high school, but in she just seems like an it girl, and she's like.
I think what's interesting about it is when if it tries to explore, and obviously it's directed by a man, so maybe it doesn't do this well enough. But when it tries to explore how women are cruel to each other, and the ways that they do that, especially younger women. So I guess like even to a woman who's in a girl, let's say a teenage girl who's in a clique, and she sees Mitsuko as a threat. You know, because of her beauty, she's going to kind of go out of her way to ostracize her if she thinks that she could dethrone her as the queen of whatever. So I think that like with maybe with a female director or whatever, something like that would have been more. But we can still see it because we
you know who kill a remake of this? You know who kill an American version of this? She directed Jennifer's Body. Carrie Kusama.
Is that a Japanese director as well?
No, I think she's Japanese American.
Would you keep Diablo Cody as the writer?
I would not keep Diablo Cody.
I hate her dialogue.
But this is her bag. So yeah, this is the plot summary of Battle Royale. Yeah. That's essentially what it is. Before we go into ratings, I had a question for you guys, and I hope you've had some time to mull over the question.
Oh right.
Oh god.
Out of the four of us, who is surviving these games more?
Well, I'm killing myself. So, yeah. So really, it's Justin versus Zach, and then
I think Zach. I think Justin wins.
Well, you'd be the guy in Fortnite.
I think Justin.
I think Justin wins this one. I think I try to sacrifice myself heroically, and it goes bad.
Yeah.
I think that's what it is. I'm the hero of the story.
Or you're the one who's saying like, guys, we're gonna find a way out of this. Don't worry, we won't have to do this. And then you wait until there's like one guy
blast, and then you get shot by someone.
Yeah, I think I would hide for a lot of this. I think I'd be like stealth and like just trying like getting by and maybe like stealth killing people if I have to. But I think
The Last of Us sneaking up on.
I think ultimately Justin would find me and end me because
no, Zach, we team up.
And then you'd end me. No,
wait.
It's what has to happen. You'd kill me.
You know what? I was joking about the suicide. In reality, I would stomp all three of you in like 10 minutes. Okay.
Oh, all right.
Oh, wow. I'm gonna say only one of us knows considerable amounts of martial arts.
This is just a dick measuring contest.
It's
this
Justin.
Is great.
I think it's Justin.
It's Justin.
You brought this. I didn't suggest it.
No. Don't worry about it, Justin.
Justin's
you know already training.
You know what it is too? Justin, to the listeners of this podcast, may seem like a mild-mannered man, but I think it would only take a little bit of prodding. I think it would only take a little bit of prodding to unchain him.
I would be the Mitsuko of this particular battle royale.
You're the Dennis of the group. I'm untethered and my rage knows no
bounds. The golden god. Yeah. Well, thank you.
So
I appreciate
it. You're welcome.
Let's rate it.
It's about as sexy as movies get.
You're right.
Yeah, I'm gonna reanimate this motherfucker. It's pretty great. Pretty great movie.
Agreed.
I mean, the pacing and like it just lets you know what the setup is, and the rest of the time you're just waiting to see these kids pick each other off and engaging really interesting ways. And there's never a dull moment. It's consistently entertaining. There's a lot to delve into politically, allegorically. There's a lot to talk about.
Yeah,
it's very clearly influential. Yeah, it's fantastic. My only real beefs are nitpicks and stuff that doesn't really survive translation that well, and just like eccentric parts of it, but like I can ignore stuff like that. It is a great movie.
I'm also going to say reanimate it. I think that it's a movie that deserves to be known on its own terms and not just as, the original Hunger Games, which I think a lot of people, and that could be a good way to package it for people so that they watch it. But like,
that's what it was packaged for me for like years.
Yeah, but its influence obviously expands far beyond. So yeah, agreed with you, Danny.
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna go Reanimate. I think it's awesome, and I think it subverts your expectations for exactly what kind of movie this is gonna be really well, while at the same time still fulfilling what it promises. Yes. Again, my nitpicks are a lot of them I think come from the freaking dubs. I mean, just like the main guy dubbing. Shuya, the guy dubbing Shuya. I think it's just so unfortunate because you can see Shuya's like acting. You can visually, you just see him doing that work. And
you know what it was? You know what it was? I think they tried to cast like a slacker type American actor to give like a stoner performance and stuff because they just see the characters as like this guy with long hair or whatever, and those have different cultural ramifications.
Yes,
like here in America, like a guy with long hair is like, he's like wearing a drug rug, and he's like, oh dude, I was fucking tripping the other day, and like that's the kind of guy that they cast.
Yeah,
he did shit in like a Shaggy from Scooby Doo.
I think about this a lot, Dan, because I know Zach and we watch a fair amount of anime, and it's the same thing there. Like when you have a country that is Japan, which is obviously very homogenous. It's not like America where you have a bunch of different, obviously, ethnicities, and then all those ethnicities have like linguistic, differences and all that. So it's like, I think what's also kind of tricky about it is that, we can't know, but I feel like a lot of the older dubs were definitely like all the dub actors were white too, and so then it's like they're all doing this like standard American, like just variations on the standard American kind of voice instead of doing any sort of like actual performance, which kind of takes away from
which is weird because the dub actors almost sound like they're doing impressions of Japanese schoolgirls that they've seen in cartoons.
Oh, you mean like with the super high voice?
Yeah. Every one of those American dub actors is doing that for the female.
That sounds terrible. That sounds
true, and it's really bad. Yeah, but Wes, this is your pick. Are you going to bury it?
No, look, I don't often award something as one of my favorite movies after I need at least 2 watches, and I think this watch solidly made it one of my favorite movies in kind of a personal canon kind of way. I think it's immortal, and here's what I'll say about it. I think it's immortal doesn't mean it's above nitpicks. No movie is perfect. I think there are tons of nitpicks. The relationship with the teacher and the student is especially uncomfortable and probably has not aged well.
Isn't that supposed? He's supposed to be a creep. Though, right?
Yeah, I don't know. There's the ambiguity of it.
I don't know.
The ambiguity of it is what bothers me. But what I will say about it is, I think as a high school film that is using this framework to explore how kids interact with each other and how we're violent with each other and trained to be violent with each other, it works. And I think also as a political satire, which we haven't even touched on, but there's moments that are actually like feel like Sorry to Bother You in terms of tone. The opening video, the Battle Royale instructional video is super satirical. So you know what I mean? Like they're very satirical, and then there's moments that are very serious and is clearly the director wrestling with some stuff from his past. So I think like it's firing on all cylinders. Right. It's one of the only movies that I could watch and then immediately be like, I could watch that again. It's like it's very popcorn and exciting in that way.
And I was in all cylinders.
If I was in all cylinders, and it's so well directed that I actually don't notice the directing unless I'm looking for it. You know what I mean? So I don't think. I'll talk briefly about how I think remaking it would work in America, but I think it's a movie that is so original that I think even something like Hunger Games, which is essentially the same premise, it doesn't even touch it. You know what I mean? Like it's just.
It made me want to seek out. It made me want to seek out more of this director's work. Like knowing, and especially that
the second one.
He made some amazing Yakuza films in the 70s.
Is the second one good?
No. Oh, it's not.
Well, Wes, to your point
he was
about
directing it. He was directing it and he died midway through.
Yes.
Really? That's weird.
Go ahead, Justin.
Just to your point, very quickly about the politics before you do your thing. There was a line that I wrote down that Shuya says toward the end of the movie. He says, "Mom and Dad ran off or died just because they felt like it," and I thought that was another line that affected me. Not so much the performance, but just the line itself, because again, in this intergenerational conversation that the film is having, like the sort of reckless abandon with which we reproduce before we're sure that we're ready to bring another life into the world, right? And then the issues of the world are foisted upon that next generation. You know what I mean? So it's like, yeah, my dad ran off, my mom died because she just couldn't deal with it. And like, I thought that was really cool. Like, there's a lot of moments like that in this movie where I'm like, oh yeah, this is way deeper than Suzanne Collins was interested in articulating.
Yeah,
no,
for sure.
And it's just that the whole world is Battle Royale. You know what I mean? Like that's the ending. The ending is that the whole world is this arena. Like they have prepared these kids to enter the earth.
Just a microcosm.
You know, like they were running in, you know, and all they had was each other and all that.
That's the same allegory as Lord of the Flies.
It is.
It's just a solid allegory.
What I will say though is, and I know we no longer necessarily do remakes things, but I've been tossing around, because I guess just for background for the listeners, this movie was going to be remade by Miramax or New Line. No, it was not. So it was going to be for years. And then the Hunger Games entered the development, and they were like, we don't need one.
Because people would then say that this is the rip-off.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So here's the thing. I think you can remake Battle Royale and make it a distinct thing. Maybe not like immediately right now, because Hunger Games is still in the cultural consciousness. But I think in 5 years you can do it. And the way you do it, you get a good director.
It would be a Blumhouse thing, though.
But
they would make it a weird B horror.
No, but here's how you do it, and you don't make it that. You cast it with child actors that are famous. You cast it with child actors that are known. You don't let the audience know who's going to die. You cast major child actors as characters that are getting picked off early. So you get like Finn Wolfhard to be the kid who gets blown up at the beginning. Right. You get like Millie Bobby Brown to be the jogging girl. You know what I mean? Like you cast it with child actors that are recognizable and that the audience attaches meaning to automatically to their persona. And then you start picking them off. And the audience is invested because it's not like, oh, is Shuya gonna die? It's like, oh my God, is the kid from Stranger Things gonna die? Right. You know what I mean? So like it's like you make it also,
and you cast someone less known as Shuya and Noriko.
Yeah, exactly.
Like you make those two relatively new faces and surround them with like well-known
child actors.
Just knowing how stuff like this normally goes through the Hollywood machine, I can only really see it as like a B tier Blumhouse, like cheap horror movie thing. It is unfortunate, but I mean they would never sink that much money into it. I don't think they would see a way to make something for cheap, get their budget back tenfold, and just like have that.
The only way they would do it is if an established director like a Tarantino or like a Fincher came in and was like, I'm passionate about this movie, I'm going to make the remake.
But Tarantino would have funded himself. I mean, he already is pretty much like self.
Maybe be a producer, him and like Rodriguez.
I don't want him anywhere near.
Not near this podcast, not near that remake.
To be honest, if Tarantino was attached, it would probably have a little bit more
respect. Absolutely. If it's one of his favorite movies, yes.
But he'd put Eli Roth in charge, and it would be a terrible film. Sorry, Eli.
Or he'll get like Fede Alvarez, who did Evil Dead 2013. And that would be pretty interesting.
I'm telling you guys, Kerry Kusama would be the business for this. Or if you wanted to lean into like the satire, you could do a Boots Riley. You know what I mean? Or a Jordan Peele. I feel like you could. Jordan Peele doesn't really do non-original work.
But this is also why I hate like talking about like the possibility of remakes, because it's just going to be frustrating. We're only going to talk about people getting attached who shouldn't be attached, etc.
But I
or then create a really cool project in our head that doesn't happen, and then set ourselves up for disappointment.
Because we always have more respect than the eventual
than the people with the money. Yeah.
Guys, I'm telling you, if you cast Chalamet as the big bad in this, heads would turn.
The old man. Wait.
If you cast Chalamet as the redheaded,
the
redheaded kid who's killing everybody in the assassin in the film.
I would see him being like the main character, like the
but that's why it works, because if you cast him as the bad guy, the audience is going to assume he's the good guy, and then he starts killing people, and they're like, fuck. Okay. It's Timothy Chalamet. He's killing people. I'm telling you guys.
Oscar darling, Tim Chalamet. Yeah. Well, hey,
is he the only one in the movie? I guess we have to wait and see Dune.
Oh, I'm sure he's going to be killing tons of brown people in that movie.
Are you?
Oh, yeah. as it should be.
Just going to kill tons of brown people, and we're going to go, yay! I guess.
But I think that's going to do it for this episode. That was a really cool conversation. I enjoyed going through that with y'all, and I think it's, we see the relationship between these two movies if you choose to double feature them. Obviously there's like the whole battle royale aspect anyway, but a bunch of characters killing each other if for nothing else. Hey Dan, what's your pick for our next episode?
What's that now? Oh, my pick.
Yeah.
Next week, I'm going with Lahan by Matthew Kassovitz.
Yeah.
This is a French crime coming-of-age film from the 90s. It's very political, but also a ton of fun. I'm making myself vulnerable here because the last time I brought on one of my favorite movies, it didn't go as planned.
No, this movie is The Business.
But maybe you guys will respond to Lahan differently. So we'll have to see.
I'm very excited.
Looking forward to it, man.
All right.
My bad. That's going to do it for this episode. We thank you graciously for paying us a visit in this humble mortuary. If you like what you heard, check out our back catalog. If you like what you heard, check out our back catalog on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and the Podbean app. Please rate and review the show where you can. Follow us on socials at The Media Morgue, and consider supporting us on Patreon. We need the monies. Where we have tiers for early episode access and other bonus content. Till next time, Wayward Movie Watchers.
See ya.
Don't kill your friends.
Yeah, don't do that.